Hi everyone, this is Dustin, the Blind Minnesotan podcast. Today we're going to talk about Free Geek and PCs for People. These two nonprofit organizations help disabled people all over Minnesota have access to cheap computers and cheap internet services. So today, let's start talking about them. Well, the first thing I want to mention is a company called Free Geek. Free Geek is located in South Minneapolis on the 7 bus. It's next to it, there's Matthews Park, there's a bowling alley, and then a block away there's a Cub Foods on Lake Street, and then there's a Target on Lake Street. It's like, that's all like in the crevices of Free Geek. And you can get there by the 7 bus, or you can get off the train and you can actually walk to Free Geek. So, there's 2 ways that you can get to Free Geek. And I learned about Free Geek is when I used to go to school at a place called Avo, Minnesota. It's AVIVO. And what Avo does is they help disabled people, homeless people, and addicts, people who are addicted to alcohol, drugs, or opioids, and then people with mental health disabilities get educated. So I used to, when I lived in Maple Grove, when I went to Avo, I would take the Maple Grove City Bus from the Maple Grove Transit Center in downtown Maple Grove where I lived to downtown Minneapolis, where I would hop on the 7 bus then to go from downtown Minneapolis to Avo, and then I would get off at Avo at the station next to Matthews Park, and then I would go to school. And then after school, sometimes I would walk over to Free Geek because Free Geek was only a block over from Avo. And then sometimes when I was done with Free Geek, I would walk a block over and go to Cub Foods, Target, or Aldi's that was on Lake Street. And then I would take the train back downtown where I could take the Maple Grove bus and go home, or walk back to the 7 and take the 7 bus to go back to downtown where I could go home. And also, over the years, they now added the 9 bus. So if you take the 9 bus south, it will take you to Matthews Park where you can get off and then you can walk to Free Geek. But the quickest buses there from downtown Minneapolis would be the 7. And you could take the train and get off at the Lake Street Midtown station and then walk to Free Geek. But it'd be, if you have limited mobility, it's just easier taking the 7 bus. And also the 7 bus and the 9 buses are way safer because those buses make people pay when they get on the bus. And because people have to pay when they get on the bus, you get less homeless people pestering you on the bus. So, that's why I say, just take the 9 or the 7, but the 7 is quicker. But, if you live on the train, just take the train to the Lake Street Midtown station and just walk. Or scooter, or whatever way you kind of get around. What Free Geek is a place where businesses, like corporate businesses, can donate their old computers. And then what they do is, Free Geek takes those computers and they kind of modernize them. So pretend if the RAM's kind of too small for a modern person. They might take a RAM from a laptop, for example, that was donated, put them in the desktop, and then they might have to do some updating the operating system and all that stuff. So then when you come in as a disabled person to come in to buy the computer, you are paying discount prices because the most expensive part of a computer is the hardware. So if they can get donated hardware, and only update the small things, you can get a computer for very cheap prices. So that's why computers are $1,000, $2,000 sometimes, because they're not charging you for the software. That they're charging you for the hardware, because the physical computer is the expensive part. The software is the cheap part. So when you're paying very expensive money for a computer, you're paying for the physical hardware. And sometimes the more money you pay for the computer, you're getting a more advanced hardware and more heavy-duty hardware, like so heavy-duty that can hit someone over the head with it and it won't break. But if you buy a cheaper computer like that's new, like in the $100, $200 range, that's going to be the crappiest hardware in the universe. And if you hit someone over the head with it, it's definitely going to break in half. So with these businesses, they buy like heavy duty $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 computers at the time. And then when they donate them because they need the newest model and the newest hardware, and they donate them to Free Geek, you're getting very, very good computers for a discounted price. And the only negative about it is you might have an older operating system and older hardware. But older hardware that is good is still better than newer hardware that is cheap. So Free Geek in South Minneapolis, it's a good place for you to get actually good hardware for cheap. Like when I used to go there more when I lived in downtown Minneapolis, because it was only like a 15-minute bus ride for me. So on the 7, so I would go there and you could find like PS5s that people didn't want anymore, Xbox Ones that people didn't want anymore. Because, they got the new Xbox One and they didn't want the old Xbox One anymore. So they just donated it to Free Geek, and then people with low incomes and people who are disabled can walk in there and buy it. And then they can have the opportunity to own a game console just like everyone else. So I liked Free Geek. I liked their purpose and all that stuff. And my friend Paul, who I met at AVO when we went to school together, he would volunteer at Free Geek. He's a wheelchair bound, so we can't take the regular city bus. Because he's wheelchair bound, he has to take this service called Metro Mobility. It's a taxi service for people who are disabilities, who are in wheelchairs and stuff. He would take Metro Mobility from his house to Free Geek in South Minneapolis, and then he would volunteer at Free Geek and get some experience in the IT field of taking computers apart, putting new motherboards in, putting new RAM in. And he did that for years until he got kind of older. Then he says, well, trying to get from the North Metro to South Minneapolis is a pain. I'm no longer doing that anymore. But he did it for years and he enjoyed it. And that place is always looking for volunteers to help, because if they pay people, they have to charge low-income people more money for the computer stuff. But if they can find volunteers, they charge less money because they don't have to charge for labor to do everything. So, they always looking for volunteers to help put computers together, take computers apart, help them recycle pieces of computers that are too old to use. So then when disabled people go in to Free Geek, they can buy a good computer for $100 to $200 that should be worth $500 to $600. So I say take the 7 bus, take the 9 bus, or take the train to the Midtown Lake Street station and walk there, because it's pretty good, worth going there. And because it's cheap, after you're done getting your computer and you have it in your bag, you can walk to the bowling alley across the parking lot, and then you can have a burger and fries, go bowling, and then you can walk to Matthews Park to get the bus you need to take another bus home, or take that bus home, or you can walk back to the Midtown Lake Street train station and take the train home, or into another bus, or whatever you have to do. So I encourage a lot of people that I help at the Minneapolis Central Library to go to Free Geek, because Free Geek is the easiest place for them to go to get resources. And then Free Geek, they actually have good hardware. They actually have, good stuff. Another company where you can get good internet connection is, because Free Geek does not do like internet or phone service. They just focus on computer stuff. So after you buy your computer and after you buy your phone from Free Geek, because companies can donate old cell phones and stuff to Free Geek. So if you buy like a used cell phone or used computer from Free Geek, you can go to downtown Minneapolis, and on 9th Street, there's a place called Boost Mobile. And Boost Mobile is a company who offers like phone service to low-income individuals. So, you can find you can then go to downtown, and on 9th Street, you can go to both Boost Mobile, and then Boost Mobile can connect your laptop and your phone, or if you chose to buy a laptop, or your phone that you bought, for cheap, onto their network. They can add their network, onto your desktop, onto their cell phone network. But the issue is it makes it more difficult because desktops can't move, and desktops take so much data, so much internet data. Sometimes the internet from the phone towers can't keep up. So, so if you get a laptop from Free Geek or cell phones from Free Geek, you can go to Boost Mobile on 9th Street in downtown Minneapolis and get those devices connected there for a cheap price, because Boost Mobile is one of the cheapest places you can go to get devices connected in the Minneapolis area. And also you can there's Boost Mobile. And if Minneapolis has a Cricket Mobile too, but Cricket is, it's made for low-income people or people with disabilities to get good phone service. But Cricket is not as easy to get to in Minneapolis as Boost. And then you have Xfinity Mobile, but Xfinity Mobile, if you live in Minneapolis, the easiest store to get to is in Brooklyn Center. So you have to take the D-Line bus from downtown Minneapolis out to Brooklyn Center, where you can get off at the Brooklyn Center transit station, and right where you see Sun Foods and you see Burlington, the Coat Factory, right where you see Five Below, and you'll see a African American shoe store, and a bunch of African American beauty stores. You'll see a Caribou Coffee and all that. It's going to be over there. And then you just walk across the street from the transit station to that little shopping area over there. And then you can get a phone internet service also at Xfinity Mobile. And the good thing is, if you have an apartment and stuff that has Xfinity home Wi-Fi, you can get a discount on their phone service because you're bundling your Wi-Fi and you're bundling your phone service together. So if you get used devices from Free Geek, but you need internet and phone service, check out Boost Mobile in downtown Minneapolis, check out Cricket somewhere in South Minneapolis, or check out Xfinity Mobile in Brooklyn Center and just take the D-Bus there. The D-Bus comes every 10 minutes, so you can easily get out to Brooklyn Center, you can easily get home. And also In Brooklyn Center, there's right there by that bus stop, they're building like a Sun Foods, and they have a bunch of fast food joints. They have a Five Below. They have a Burlington Coat Factory. So when you go out there, you want to bring your shopping cart, because when I lived in downtown Minneapolis, I had a shopping cart, and then you can take your shopping cart with you. So then you can shop for clothes. You can go to Five Below. You can go to Sun's Groceries and all that. You can do your grocery shopping, and then you can push your shopping cart that's full of stuff you paid for right back to the bus, the D bus, hop on the D bus, and then the D bus will take you right back to downtown or South Minneapolis, because the D bus goes from Brooklyn Center through North Minneapolis into downtown Minneapolis, then through Richfield to the Mall of America. So, but I advise you not going towards the Mall of America direction, because the more closer to the Mall of America you get, you're going to get more high-end phone companies and high-end phone services that are not going to give you a discount. That's why I say just stick with Boost, Cricket, and Xfinity Mobile. That's why my advice is to tell you guys to go there. And now I'm going to talk about free PCs for People. PCs for People is different than Free Geek. PCs for People is in St. Paul. It's on the Green Line train next to the soccer stadium. And it's in a very nice area of St. Paul. The area over there is full of luxury apartments. There's a Cub Foods over there, and plenty of housing opportunities over by the soccer stadium in St. Paul. So you can take the train, the Green Line train from Minneapolis, if you live in Minneapolis, to the soccer stadium, get off, and then you have to walk to the PCs for People. The PCs for People is different. PCs for People is all income-based. So you can't even go to PCs for People for anything unless you're under a certain income. So what happens is big companies like Best Buy, Micro Center, Amazon, Walmart, Target, Costco, and Sam's Club, they have these huge electronic sections in their store. And every year, whatever electronics they can't sell, they get rid of, because they want this year's electronics in. They want this year's headphones. They want this year's mouse pads. They want this year, because you can't sell last year's stuff that is just as good. You have to have new models and stuff every year. So what happens is they donate all their old stuff they can't sell to PCs for People. So PCs for People has all brand new stuff, brand new phones, brand new computers, brand new stuff that was donated to them. And then what happens is, if then you walk into PCs for People and you have to bring your bank statements, your payments, your pay stubs, and all that with. You have to bring, because they want to know how much money you have in your bank account, how much you get paid at your job, how much Social Security do you get. They want to know all that. So when you show up, they can do the math for you, and they can say, yep, you can qualify, or no, you can't qualify. And what happens is, so pretend if you make $8,500 a year. Okay, and pretend their goal is you have to make less than $10,000 a year. Pretend, okay? That's not the real numbers, but just pretend. What happens is when you walk in there and you show them your pay stubs and your Social Security and your bank information, how much you have in your bank account and stuff, and you walk in there and say, hey, I am disabled or I'm low income, I want a free computer and free internet and free phone service, they will do the math and say, yep, you make $8,500 a year. So you're definitely underneath the $10,000. So what we're going to do is we're going to give you this computer, we're going to give you this phone, and then your computer is going to connect to the Boost mobile network. So if you have any problems, you have to go to Boost Mobile, for example. So what they do is they connect you to the Boost mobile internet. They connect you to the Boost mobile phone service, for example. And they say, okay, because you're low income, we gave you a phone for free and we gave you a computer for free. Now you just have to pay for the internet, for the computer, and for the phone. So what they do is they go to Boost Mobile for you on the computer, and they say, hey, Boost Mobile, this person's even more low income than your regular customer. Please give them, instead of $20 a month for endless internet on your computer and phone, instead of $20 what a normal person would pay, they might give you a discount of $10. So then you're only paying $10 a month for internet, because Free Geek means our PCs for People has contracts with certain phone providers saying, hey, if we have a client that we send to you that is like low income and we prove it to you, will you give them a discount? And and they also go by your zip code. So pretend if you do qualify and you do get discount or free service, what happens is, pretend if you live in downtown Minneapolis, they will partner you up with Boost. If you live in Brooklyn Center, they'll partner you up with Xfinity Mobile. If you live in the Uptown neighborhood or Southwest Minneapolis, they will hook you up with Cricket. And then in St. Paul has their own kind of areas. So then if you have a problem with your service, you can walk or bike to your local store and deal with it. So PCs for People but pretend if you're so low income, pretend if the requirement to get something free is, $4,000 a month. You mean? And you make $2,000 a month. What happens is they'll come out to Boost, and they'll come out to Xfinity Mobile, and they'll come out to Cricket, and they will say, hey, this person makes so little money, they can't afford a phone bill or internet bill. And then what happens is, and then those companies will say, sure, we'll take them because of the contract they have with PCs for People. And then PCs for People then will pay your bill for you. So PCs for People will say, okay, these people need a phone service, they need an internet service, their closest provider is Boost Mobile, for example. We will pay their Boost Mobile bill. And then so they can have access to internet on a computer and a phone service. But pretend if you make over, okay, now here's another example, okay? So pretend if you make over the 10,000, right? What will happen is their basic requirement. What will happen is they will say, okay, we'll give you the computer for free. We'll give you the phone for free because you still have poverty wages. But we'll make you pay full price for the phone service, for example. And then once, for example, if you're over $20,000 a year, they might say, for example, oh, sorry, we can't help you. So Boost Mobile PCs for People has a middle ground. So if you're in the higher end of their low income bracket, they will just give you the devices for free and make you pay for the service. Or what they'll do is they'll give you a discount on the computers or the phones, and they will still make you pay for a small chunk because these computers are worth $800 to $1,000. So even if they give you the computer for free and the phone for free, or they give you a $300 to $400 discount, that's still a lot of money. You mean saving $200 to $300, that's a lot of money if like you can at least qualify for their service for a computer or for a phone. So so the poorer you are when you go to PCs for People, the more services from them you will get. You will get more services from PCs for People the more poorer you get. But the issue is PCs for People is not always like stable, because PCs for People runs off donations. So if PCs for People gets less donations, the less people they can help that year. So one year they might be able to help 500 people. The next year they might only be able to help 300 people. The year after that they might only be able to help 800 people. The year after that they might only be able to help 100 people. So PCs for People, they survive off things donated to them. And so PCs for People isn't like, yes, it's better than nothing, but at least Free Geek is more reliable when it comes to their service. Because Free Geek, as long as companies keep donating computers to them and they keep getting volunteers to fix up the computers, Free Geek in South Minneapolis is a little bit more reliable service because they're only promising you discounted items. Well, PCs for People in St. Paul, they're more, hey, we can get you a discount on this on a new device, or in a discount on internet and phone service, or we'll pay for it if you're low income enough. But that money comes from donations. So if they don't get to get enough donations and they can't pay for your free phone service and your free internet from a local provider like Boost, Cricket, and Xfinity Mobile, you're going to lose access. So my advice is, if you're disabled and low income or whatever, my advice is just to go to PCs for People just to get the discounted devices, the discounted phones and discounted computers, but do not get internet service through them if they're going to charge you money. But if you also need a computer and you don't have the money to pay the prices that PCs for People wants you to pay, go to Free Geek in South Minneapolis. Free Geek in South Minneapolis, in my opinion, is the most favorite of mine in both organizations, because to me, I feel like Free Geek helps recycled computers and stops them from going in toxic waste landfills. And, those computers at Free Geek, in my opinion, are a little bit more reliable, because the computers at Free Geek are from businesses, and businesses don't buy clunky, awful computers. So a lot of the computers and phones donated to PCs for People, they're computers and phones that no one wanted. So because no one wanted them, big companies like Best Buy, Walmart, Sam's Club, Costco, Target, and Amazon donated those electronics to that company because no one with money wanted to buy them. So with PCs for People, you're kind of getting the leftover junk of technology that no one else wants. Well, Free Geek, at least you're getting technology that people did want and is more heavy duty, better quality hardware. And so I'm just saying, in my opinion, Free Geek is a better place for you to get your devices than PCs for People. But, But if you live in St. Paul, it's good for you to try PCs or People first because it's right in your neighborhood. And if you live in Minneapolis, it's good for you to try Free Geek first because that's the one in your neighborhood. But in my opinion, I just say just go for Free Geek if possible because in my opinion, that's a better organization. And just go to Boost Mobile in downtown, Xfinity Mobile in Brooklyn Center, Cricket Mobile in South Minneapolis. I think also South Minneapolis now has a Metro Mobile. And Metro Mobile is also another discounted cell phone service store. And then, that's my advice. And then if you also live in downtown Minneapolis, you can take the 10 bus. And on the 10 bus, because the 10 bus goes from downtown Minneapolis through Northeast, through Columbia Heights, and then through Hilltop, through Fridley, and into Blaine. So in Hilltop, there's also Cricket. So if the Cricket in Minneapolis, the South Minneapolis is hard for you to get to, you can get to the one here in Hilltop because the 10 bus comes every 15 minutes. And then, you can also get to, so it's easy for you to get to the Cricket up here in Hilltop where I kind of hang out, than it is sometimes getting to the one in South Minneapolis. So because these low income phone companies and providers, they're more willing to, negotiate with you than big companies like T-Mobile or Verizon or AT&T, because those big companies, they're less willing to compromise with you than the other companies. And also, there's also minute phones that you can buy at Walgreens or CVS. You can walk in and they're little people on TV call them burner phones. And you can go and you can buy minutes and stuff. But the issue with the burner phones or the minute phones, every time you send a text, every time you call, every time you send an email, it eats away when you're not on Wi-Fi. It eats away at your minutes. And then sometimes when you go buy more minutes, buying more minutes is more expensive than paying for a cheap phone plan at places like Boost, Cricket, Xfinity Mobile. Is sometimes paying for those minutes are more expensive than having a cheap phone plan. Because you can get a cheap phone plan for $15 a month at those places. But, they're going to, but a lot of cheap phone plans now from those places that are $15 a month, they have unlimited texting and they have unlimited calling. The only thing that they restrict you on is the internet usage. So /LTE. So with the $15 phone plans, you just can't use a lot of LTE/internet on your phone, but you can do a lot of calling and texting. And the whole point of having a cell phone these days is to call and text people. The whole point in having a cell phone is calling and texting people. So if you can afford a $15 a month plan, a cheap minimum one, at least you can call and text people, and that's the biggest thing that matters. The LTE/internet on the phone, that's not the biggest reason why you need a phone. So, and then, if you get one of those cheap phone plans, the $15 ones, if you need some free Wi-Fi, you can go to the Minneapolis Central Library. And if you go to the 3rd or 4th floor, there's a bunch of seating areas up there where you can sit, you can plug in your phone on the 3rd or 4th floor, and you can sit there and just use the free Wi-Fi. And if you don't live in Hennepin County, because you have to live in Hennepin County to use the Minneapolis Central Library, what you can do is you can give them like a coffee shop address, you can go into Google Maps and you can give them like a downtown Minneapolis like coffee shop address, and you can give that to the Minneapolis Central Library. So then when they give you a library card, they think that you live in Hennepin County because, you give them a coffee shop address, but you truly don't. And you can use the library's Wi-Fi and stuff at Minneapolis Central Library. I kind of hate how Minneapolis Central Library expects you to have a library card to use their Wi-Fi, because it's kind of dumb. Because the Minneapolis Central Library, half the people that hang out there don't have a home in Hennepin County, because a lot of them, they're homeless and they're sleeping on the street, or they're disabled and they live like in Anoka County or Ramsey County, and they just go to the Minneapolis Central Library in downtown because it's the easiest one to get to with public transportation. I wish like the Minneapolis Central Library Wi-Fi was just like free, like a coffee shop. You can just go in, connect, like without a password. You can do your thing and then disconnect and leave. Because when when Minneapolis Central Library puts that, like, haha, you must have a library card to do library here, and you must have a real house, and you must actually live here and pay taxes here, it puts restrictions on, like, the disabled community and the low-income community who just want to slip into the library, connect to the Wi-Fi, do something for 5 or 10 minutes, and then take the bus and go back home. So, so like, just put an address of a coffee shop or whatever as your address. And then, boom, you get a library card, and then you can use that library card to get onto the Minneapolis Central Library Wi-Fi. And then if you're on a cheap $15 phone plan, and then you can do all your stuff at the library where it's not eating away at your LTE or your /phone Wi-Fi limits for the month. Well, I hope you guys found this information okay. Remember, there's a Boost Mobile in downtown Minneapolis on 9th Street. There is an Xfinity Mobile next to the Brooklyn Center transit station. There's a Cricket Mobile on the 10 bus in Hilltop. There's a Cricket Mobile somewhere in South Minneapolis. I forgot where it was. And so just go to those mobile spots and just get the service from there, and then get the device from Free Geek or PCs for People. That's my advice. I hope you have a good day. Bye-bye.